That's what I was going to do. One thing I forgot to mention a few minutes ago, just remember the Smoky Mountain Service Dogs. We have the donation jar up here on the table. And I believe, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I do think that both of the associations also make a donation too.
Yes.
But we do have the donation jar up here on this table, if you can remember them. Don't have much of an intro for Mark. A lot of you already know him. He really does not need an introduction, but Mark Mamantov, comedian and sometimes an attorney for past Marion sins. So we will go ahead and let Mark get going. Thank you. Oh, we have some sound effects.
I didn't do that. That's weird. Please tell me that's going to end quickly.
I don't know where it's coming from.
I never could finish that movie. I know, I feel bad that it's been a year since I've been here. It's become a great tradition. The third Friday of October. It's very similar to the Alabama gang. And both will be equally boring, I'm afraid. So I haven't really done anything really stupid this past year to share with you all. I didn't get locked out of my room in the boxers, which I think I've shared that story with some of you all. But I did. My second daughter just got married. Got 3 daughters, and the second one it was rough. She was my firstborn, and I don't know if you all are getting to that age where I get all teary and stuff as they start growing up. But I did have a good story I thought I'd share with you all from, she got married in the Garden Spot of America, downtown Detroit. You probably didn't know that, did you? That your aspiration was getting married in downtown Detroit. But she found an art gallery she really liked, and she lives up there and works on her degree at Michigan, which that was a funny story. But she married a big Michigan fan, so I gave him a Peyton Manning jersey reminding him that Peyton Manning should have won the Heisman Trophy back in 1997. And then I realized he was like 2 years old in 1997 and really didn't care that Charles Winston did not deserve the Heisman Trophy in 1997. But he did. They went to Paris for their wedding, for their honeymoon, and he did send me a picture of his Peyton Manning jersey in front of the Eiffel Tower. So he's now in good stead with me. But I was walking around downtown Detroit, and first I ran into a Kentucky fan, and they're really obnoxious, as you all know. I'm sure there's a few of you all here. Sorry, guys. But go Cats. That's what the guy said to me. Go Cats. You know, like, oh my God, I cannot get away from them even in Detroit. You know, yeah, he wanted to discuss the merits of Kentucky basketball, and I really did not want to do that. I was already upset about my daughter getting married, and so I said, you know, Cats, go Cats, you know, and all that sort of thing. But I was wearing my big orange T-shirt. That's why he knew that he needed to discuss Kentucky basketball with me. And so and he felt like since they were supposed to win this year, he needed to discuss that. But then I go walking along, and I kept my wife with me, by the way. And so a young lady comes running up to me, and it wasn't anything to do with my good looks. It was with my Tennessee T-shirt. She comes running up to me and grabs my arm and says, "Are you here for the wedding? Are you here for the wedding?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm here for the wedding." And she goes, "Well, I'm Kendall's sister." Who the hell is Kendall? You know, because I said, you know, I went to the rehearsal dinner the night before, and there was a lot to drink, but I wouldn't think I'd forget Kendall, because she sounded like she was a key part of the wedding. And I'm like, she could see I was totally confused. She goes, "You don't know Kendall?" And I'm like, "No." And she goes, "Well, she's the bride." And I'm sorry, my daughter's name's Lizzie, and she's married a guy named Rob. And she goes, "But why are you wearing a UT T-shirt?" And I'm like, "Well, can't I wear a UT T-shirt in Detroit or something?" And but she explained to me that, and this is really a small world thing, is that the groom, and some of you may know him, was the NCAA compliance guy for UT. And so, but what was really odd is that they were playing Florida that weekend, so I was like, man, he knew they were going to get killed, so he went to Detroit. And so so I chatted with Kendall for a minute and played, you know, who you know sort of thing for a second. But anyway, she was the bride's sister. And so I went walking on down to the Riverwalk there in Detroit. And by gosh, I'm walking along, and here comes a guy in a UT T-shirt. And he goes, "Go Vols!" And I said, Andrew Donovan, you're getting married today, and you're marrying Kendall. Oh my God! How did you know? So I was a sidekick. And but the cool part of the story too is that I said, hey man, how in the world did you miss the Florida game? And he said, I had to get married on this day, September 21st in Motown. Anybody know why? Somebody tell me why. See, only the women know. I don't see the guys going. Do you know Hugh? Would you tell them why you have to get married on September 21st?
The Earth, Wind, and Fire. It's the Earth, Wind, and Fire September song.
Did you all know that? And so she had always wanted to get married on September 21st due to Earth, Wind, and Fire. And so they were getting married, and he said that she wouldn't marry him unless he got married September 21st, Earth, Wind, and Fire. So anyway, so if you meet Andrew Donovan, NCAA compliance director for UT, tell him that you met me and that we're really proud of him for missing the Florida game and for his beloved the newly bride. So anyway, that's my story for the day. It had nothing to do with negotiation, by the way. So I would like to sort of segue and see that showed, but it actually shows nothing other than a really small coincidence. So, but we are going. I was out of town. I'm sorry, but that's why I didn't have a bio when I had the wedding, and then I went to learn about airport law, and I went to learn about bond law, and so now I get to come talk about negotiation. And when they asked me to talk about negotiation, I got to admit I laughed, because the first thing I always thought of when somebody talks about negotiations or talking about it is remember like on the airlines, you always get this magazine, there would be that Charles, what is his name, Caress or something? I was like, how do you make a living going around talking about negotiating all your life? And then he's passed the business on to his son. You see that little picture in the corner? There's Fred and Charles or whatever, and I'm like, son, will you join me someday in my negotiation seminar or sort of thing? I mean, how does that come about? And I was like, and then I started thinking, well, that's what I do for a living. I hope I know something about it, but but the little email I got from you all said, hey, make this interactive. So we're going to make this totally interactive, and you're going to hate it. And my kids hate group projects. They're all really shy, but I'm going to make you all do them anyway, because you said make it interactive. So I have passed around a project for you guys. Does everybody have it? If you do not want to do this is the time when you got to go to the bathroom bad, sort of thing, okay? Yes. I mean, you may have to negotiate with Jay. Yeah. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. So you guys are vendors over there, right? You don't get to participate, is that right? They can, or they want, if you want to, okay. But when's the last time since elementary school did you get to count off like what number you were? How many of you? So that's what we're going to do right now. We're going to count to 9. And so, I know, it's horrible, isn't it? But we're going to do this because it's going to be interactive, I promise. So we're going to start here, and we're going to count to 9, and don't forget your number. If you forget your number, you don't get to participate because you don't deserve to participate. So it's right here.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Start over.
1, 2, 3, 4,
5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Let's start back here. Do 1. This guy used to be your president. He can't count. So it's concerning. So then, after 3 comes 4. I think. Yes. Okay. So go ahead. I'm going to tell. What's that? Quattro. All right. 5,
6, 7, 8, 9, 1, 2,
duck, please.
3, 4, 5. Yes.
Make a shake.
Yes. That's great. I do that all the time. I rarely get caught though. 1. Okay.
4,
5,
6,
7,
8.
You can count us about. I finally learned Michael's our procurement guy at the airport. So Matt.
Start over.
9. 9.
2,
You got a film?
I've got a film.
All right.
So either 3 is gonna have to be at the table
Yes.
or.
3.
3.
4.
4. Okay, all my ones stand up.
Wait a minute.
Oh, wait a minute. 5. Everybody get a number? That wants to play? Okay, you don't want to play anyway, but I'm gonna make you. All right, everybody, all my ones stand up. Please. All my 2 stand up. All right, everyone grab a 2 and go sit somewhere. Yes.
What did he say? What did he say?
If it's to your table, fine. If it's somebody else, that's fine. But just get close to your 2. All right. All your 3s, can I have my 3 stand up? 3s, please. 3 stand up. All right, 3s, can you all go back there toward the wall a little bit? Yep, 3s back to the wall. All right, now, we're going to sing your favorite Barry Manilow song. Just kidding. Now, I haven't thought Barry Manilow in years. I have no idea how that came out. All right, my 4s and 5s, can y'all stand up, please? All right, 4s, you get with a 5 and then go pick a 3 over there. You guys are going to negotiate 2-on-1 on these people. So the 3s are going to be 2-on-1. This is a social science experiment. So get with a 5 and go pick you a 3.
Science is not your.
No, social science, All right, now, 6s, can you stand up and go over here? 6s over here, please. Yes. It's that or the remedial group, she has things that. Here's my 6s. All right, 7, 8, 9s, you are going to be 3-on-1 on those guys. So get together and then pick your 6, okay? Pick your 6 and go find a seat. Let's get going. You're our filmer, huh?
I am. It is, absolutely. I planned it.
All right, everybody sit down, grab your seat, get around somebody that y'all can chat, or sit on the floor, like yoga style, or do whatever you want. But be able to talk to each other. Come on, we're not going to reach a deal if you don't get sit down. Come on, guys, there's lots of table. Just grab a few chairs. Come on, show some leadership here. You're the tallest guy here. Come on, show some leadership here. Come on. Okay. Good to see you. All right, guys, I'm going to keep talking. Please try to get done your thing. Okay, so here's the goal. You have a sheet in front of you. You're supposed to negotiate that deal. If you have questions, please raise your hand. I'll try to fill in factual blanks. But what I want you all to do, it's 8:50 according to my watch. You have until 9:15 at the latest to cut a deal on what's in front of you. And I want you to fill out jointly one of those sheets that I handed out to you that you've agreed upon after you all negotiated it, okay? And I want you to read the whole thing first before you negotiate, because you may give up. Don't go through it point by point, because if you give up one point, you may be sorry that you gave that up. So I want you to go through that. I want you to negotiate it. And I want you, once you're finished, to bring it up to me. And if you can't reach a deal, that's okay. You're just a terrible negotiator. There's nothing to be embarrassed about, although we will shame you viciously. But so I want you all to negotiate this purchase of this property This is a real world example. You can pick, you can choose your side. Good question. You choose. Jay asked whose side you're on. You get to pick which side. That it doesn't make a difference.
Hey, I don't want to be involved in any of Nick Kazana's deals I've read.
Not a Nick Kazana. Rick Dover. Yeah, I think so. Or others. So.
Okay.
All right, raise your hand if you have questions.
That's what's in the Supreme Court.
Yeah. I mean, I threw in a few different things.
Yeah, I guess probably.
Any other
You're like, that's what the answer is.
I'm going home for dinner. I never That guy has not back to bring here. So you look at the picture this year, Marvel out. We do this. You would not want this time. So I took that $800,000 and got the city to grant the bank. We get blessed. Okay. No. Yeah, at least 18 months. I'm thinking that's, I'm thinking he's. False. It was built for the ultimate. I wouldn't go to the last. This looks like when he's 380.
No more than 10 minutes. If you finish, you don't need to write your names on it, but if you would, put whether you were 1-on-1, 2-on-1, or 3-on-1, because I'm going to tally these and I'm going to email them back to you all afterwards. I'm trying to get a better, I thought y'all might be interested, not only in the negotiation aspects of this, but I'm really interested to see whether you get a better result if you're by yourself or whether you have a team that you have to consult with.
Good deal.
No, it wasn't really much of a deal. I just told him what we were doing.
Did you like?
This is my team. This is what you're doing.
Yes.
I just started throwing in stuff like tips and pilots,
You did
council
not,
approval,
did
and
you?
commission approval. Then you have to get these crazy attorneys involved, and then they can't decide on the terms of the. So,
Yes.
3-on-1 non-negotiable. You know better than that. The federal government should never give it to the city without the city having calling you and asking
Yeah,
what do we
State
say.
Supreme. Well, I didn't want to, it was, you agreed on 600,000?
That's good.
Below market?
It's because because what happened is
Transfer of all that liability. Yeah, that's what I didn't think.
Really?
If you're gonna take it.
So you didn't reach on what, you killed the
No,
deal?
we killed the deal after we got all the way down to about right here.
Seriously?
Would you take it?
Yeah.
No, you would.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, he would. I've been in some deals with him. He
I
would
got this
take it.
deal done. I did get this deal done.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Then what city official took property from the federal government without having remediation testing?
State Supreme Court side. They wanted it for downtown development. They're land hungry.
I just said the city has not had it inspected. It didn't mean that the federal government didn't provide a phase one.
That didn't say that.
Yeah, it didn't, they're just gonna have a current phase one.
See, if I do that,
Yeah.
then what went on?
Why didn't you just say no environmental warranties from the city and move on?
Because I just assumed up here that there was nothing.
Why are you bringing up college and tips? He didn't mention that.
I did. Did you really cut a deal already?
Yeah.
Oh, hang on. You really done? Can you just
Well, I don't think
Yeah. Yes, definitely. Thank you. You win?
nobody, I mean, it's win-win, right?
That's right.
Me and Rick.
That was the
Yeah.
thing.
CPAC.
Yeah. Also. Probably yes. Yeah. Yeah. Did you not think you said It's a two-year What is that? Oh, well, you got Two more minutes. If you can't reach agreement in 2 minutes, just bring it up and say we couldn't reach agreement. Yes. Mark, Matt, can I have one more?
General Leland turned over.
Yeah. "30 seconds, bring on up here." Anybody still working? Raise your hand if you're still working. All right, guys. Last one, my friends from the city. Thank you.
That was fun.
Okay, guys. Do you have email ability that if I give you the results, you can share them with everybody? Who can tell me that? When I get back to my office, I am going to summarize these and send them out to you.
Oh. Yes. Thank you.
Before, I know, I just want 2 versus 1, 1 versus 1. If you can put on the top whether you were 1v1 or 2v1 or 3v1. Yeah, I'm trying to tally whether the results were affected significantly by having to take on more votes. This fact pattern, as some of you all know who live in Knox County, is based almost identically, but not totally, on, because this didn't come from the federal government, it came from the state government, is the Supreme Court side in Knoxville, where Knoxville acquired the former state Supreme Court side when it moved into the old federal courthouse, and it sat there empty. It went through 3 RFQs, RFPs, and then we finally got an RFP that the city was satisfied with, and probably at least 5 or 6 negotiating sessions with the developer to try to work through those things. The environmental stuff I just made up. I think they actually did have a phase one. My friend Michael Giles, by the way, you might, and I hate inside jokes, and when I first came to talk to you all, or I guess maybe the second time I came a couple of years ago, Michael was new to his job at the airport. I didn't even know we had a procurement guy in the airport. I was new to the airport authority as well, and so I stood in front of you all and said, we don't even have a procurement guy in the airport, and he got pride. So I didn't even know that he was doing the job yet. So we now really know that he's doing the job, and he's doing a great job out there, and is keeping me in line. So this was a really hard deal to negotiate for a number of reasons. And my friends at the city marked up that the developer wanted incentives and stuff like that. I don't want to get into tips and pilots today because I've already spoken on that like 10 times this year. But it's true, the developer did want incentives. But the main thing, the hardest thing to negotiate is the reversionary right at the end. So if you're a lender, a banker, and you can lose your collateral, you've made a loan for $50 million to build an apartment complex and they don't finish it and there's a reversionary right and the city gets the property back. Do you think you're gonna live with that if you're a banker? No way. So we eventually settled on the 20% that once they spent, but we wanted to make sure the project was built, right? We didn't want the developer to get this property and just sit on it. So we made sure that that they got to work and they spent a significant sum of money. And once they spent that significant sum of money, our reversionary right went away, and then we had some liquidated damages that they didn't finish. But that was really hard to negotiate. And Terry's back there from KCDC, that's also big on our redevelopment projects. If you do any sort of redevelopment type work, it's really hard because that same issue comes up. You want to make sure the developer does what he or she says she's going to do, but it's really hard to do that and satisfy the lenders. So I hope you all enjoyed it. I know that's somewhat awkward sometimes to negotiate with people you don't even know, but that's sort of the way it is sometimes. But I did also pass around, I hope some of you all got mine, I just obviously made this up, but my March maxims for marvelous negotiations. So I couldn't get perfect alliteration because negotiation starts with an N, but I tried. So one thing that, and I just thought I'd go through these quickly, is one thing that I've also working in, and again, I'm sorry, I'm referring to Knox County. One thing I've learned, I've been working through a couple of really hard deals lately, and they generally involve the federal government. That should be another maxim, is don't do a deal with the federal government. But but one I'm working on right now for the county, Knox County, is trying to negotiate, and it's publicly acknowledged, the lease of the East Tower effectively. And Matt knows more about that than he wants to. But it's just been miserable for a couple of reasons. One is TVA is impossible to negotiate with because they're so used to beating up on people and getting their way on every single point. And also they have 70 lawyers versus me. And so I would bet on them every time. And but a real problem that we've had in this negotiations is we never sat down at the beginning and nailed out a term sheet. And so we'll make one change and all of a sudden everybody will realize, oh, we've got to discuss this key issue, and then we step back quite a bit. And so one thing that I really would recommend to folks, and I'm really working with people on economic development projects in particular, is to do a letter of intent or a term sheet. It's non-binding, it's not often taken to your governing body, but it sets forth the key terms of the deal, and then the negotiations go usually a whole lot more smoothly. Sometimes even with that, it doesn't work as well. But I found that if you go through the key stuff ahead of time, that it really, really helps the first draft of the documents be so much better than, hey, why don't we just make something up and then we'll just review the first drafts of the documents together. My second point is the golden rule sort of thing. Is I really try hard, and one reason I feel like I've been pretty successful in negotiating, or at least bringing deals to conclusion, is try to understand the other side's position. Like with TVA, I really try hard to understand, okay, what is their main concerns, and try to reach accommodation to get them where they need to go. And you try to do that on every deal. Don't just try to be a bully. It's easy to be a bully. It's a lot harder to try to understand what's fair for both sides and to, if put yourself in the other side's shoes and say, if I were in their shoes, I would really find this to be important. And you saw for your negotiating thing, like for the city, what was really, really important to us is that they actually built what they said they were going to do, because otherwise
we've wasted a really valuable piece of property. So try to put yourself in the shoes of the other party. And one thing that, it's been hard, a lot of negotiations, I don't know if anybody's here from Oak Ridge, but I just finished negotiating a contract for them to, a huge loan to help them rebuild their water plant there. And again, it was with the EPA, and it's just like, again, we would get on the phone, and there'd be 2 of us and 24 of them. And I couldn't even figure out what some of these people did. I'm not sure they had anything to do with our deal. I think they just were looking for a conference call to join. And so, but what's hard, and often it's come up with, we're negotiating some of these deals, is this is, quote, a deal breaker. If you want to, don't use those words, is try to say, look, this is really important to us. Let's try to figure out a way to achieve this goal. And, but using drawing lines in the sand and saying things are deal breakers, I never have found to be very productive. Another thing that, again, has been from the TVA work I've been doing with the county is highlighted for me is it's really, and I think it's really helpful to have, and not adopted formally, but some basic negotiating policies for if you're a governmental entity, because like the county takes the absolute draw the line in the sand, we will not indemnify anybody. And so we made that very clear to TVA up front, and we've been able to work around that. But indemnification is a tough issue because there is no case law in Tennessee saying a governmental entity cannot indemnify somebody. There is an attorney general opinion that makes it pretty clear, but attorney general opinions aren't binding. But when you're negotiating a deal with somebody for a construction project or something like that, and you say, we can't indemnify you for our own employees. Like Matt goes out there to inspect a project and runs over somebody, he's got sovereign immunity. They can't get more than, $350,000 out of the county because of that. And so they want to get indemnified for that sort of thing because they might have the risk that they get also sued. And there's a very strong argument that legally you can't do that. But a lot of people accommodate, and a lot of my clients accommodate and say, well, to the extent permitted by law, we'll indemnify you. Well, we think to the extent permitted by law means we can't do it. And so we're giving them nothing. And so why do we care? Well, we really don't know until it's really litigated by a court. Well, we really don't know whether in Tennessee a governmental entity can provide indemnity if you have sovereign immunity, and almost all governmental entities in Tennessee have sovereign immunity of some sort. So, so it'd be good, if you're going to be negotiating a lot of contracts, it would be good to get the powers to be to say, okay, these are the sort of things that we will not agree to, such as, if you're negotiating often like computer IT type contracts, they're the worst. Number one, they try to limit your damages to basically like, when Kodak, some of y'all remember there's actually things called cameras with film in them and things like that. And so, and when cameras had films and you had bought your little yellow thing of Kodak film, what did it say on there if the film was bad? Like if my daughter was getting married and all the pictures turned out to be bad because Kodak did a bad thing, my damages were limited to what? A refund of the film, right? But my daughter's wedding is irreplaceable, right? I got screwed. And so, but that is the way Kodak approached it, because if, how many millions and millions of dollars of damages would they have if my sort of situation where the wedding pictures went bad? And so, those sort of IT type contracts always have that in there, that your damages, if we totally screw up your IT system, are limited to the fee that you paid us of $10,000, even though you just totally destroyed our IT system, and those are hard things to do. Michael and I were trying to negotiate with AT&T on a contract. Oh, do we have any AT&T representatives here?
You're safe.
I'm safe. God, that was miserable.
Not that it matters.
They totally kicked my butt. And so, but how long did we go on and back and forth? How many years? 2 years. Because they have forms. You know what? There is something called Word, and you can make changes. And just because you make them look like pre-printed forms, it didn't fool us. We knew they could make changes. And so, and we were totally unsuccessful in getting those changes done. But it's really key that, are you agreeable to arbitration?
Or you agree when you do a contract with that IT company from Kansas City that your venue for a lawsuit would be in Kansas City? Heck no, you're not. You want it to be right here in Sevierville, Tennessee, because then you can go do bumper cars afterwards. And so so those are key things that you ought to know ahead of time. Like at the airport, we know generally we're not going to agree to this, this, or that, and then we often have to cave because we're doing deals with the federal government. And so they're miserable. One thing too is I found is you guys are is everybody here everybody here is governmental, right? And so you're special in that. I know you're special. Oh, you're so sweet. You're so special. But governmental entities are different from private entities in that you only have those powers that are given to you by statute or clearly inferred by statute, right? So you can't agree to do things that state law does not allow you to do. Well, generally, if you're a private party, you can agree with anything you want to. But like in the indemnity issue that I mentioned, there are certain things that cities and counties just can't agree to. I mean, in other words, if you agree to a venue for a dispute in Alaska, I would tell you that's probably not lawful under Tennessee law. So one good thing, a lot of times I'm helping the airport or KCDC or somebody negotiate, you got to tell the other side is we're different. We're a governmental entity, and it's really important for you to understand that there are certain things we just can't agree to. And I think that's very helpful to sort of set those ground rules. The next one is my hardest one, is try not to get personal. Sarcasm really is fun, and I really like making fun of the people I'm negotiating with. And you know, their tie is ugly. Would you please stop rolling your eyes? It's driving me crazy. But it's try not to get personal with it and try to stay on issues. And sometimes that's really, really hard, particularly if you're negotiating with Yankees. Sorry, I'm sure we have some Yankees here. I love Yankees. I shouldn't say Yankees, I'm just saying the federal. I'll just pick on the federal government. If you're from DC, so obviously, and there's case law about it. Always use red lighting. Don't try to sneak changes by people. That's just not ethically right. And there's case law that says that can be fraud if you make changes. Because how many people totally reread each document now? Don't do that. Try to always make sure you disclose when you make changes and send documents back to somebody. One thing is that you really are trying to reach a common goal. Like our little hypothetical here, you're trying to buy, both sides want to do this deal, right? They want to do the deal. You're really on the same team. You're trying to get there in different ways, but you're trying to achieve a common purpose. It's ironic because in my business, we send out distribution lists. This is our quote working group. Like, hey, we hate each other, but we're on the same team. I'm not going to pass the ball to you, but we're all on the same thing. And it's always funny. We closed our big deal for Oak Ridge yesterday. And those people just drove me crazy. They were none of them understood SEC sports. I mean, they were, how can you have a working group when nobody understands what go balls means? I mean, it's just really incredible. But at the end, everybody's like, hey, we closed, we love you. And I'm like, I really don't love you, but I'm happy that we closed. So it is important to try to develop good camaraderie and things like that. Often on deals too, I always hate this when I get on that conference call and often my associates are with me and they say, okay, let's close this deal in 2 weeks. And everybody's like, there's no way we close it in 2 weeks. I'm like, I know that, but I don't want to be the coward that says we can't do it first. And so, but try to be more realistic. Don't do that to people and set artificial deadlines that nobody can possibly meet. It doesn't help the process. But it is good to have a schedule and try to stick to it. And lastly, as Michael did and his team you got to be prepared to walk sometimes. Not, you may need to do the deal, but sometimes psychologically you need to be able to be prepared to say, look, I've invested a lot of time in this, but it just is not the right fit for our community, and be prepared psychologically to walk away from a deal. And last thing, and the most important thing, always have plenty of coffee, because I really like coffee. So, and I appreciate that, although they were out of the dark roast, I had to go with the light roast, so I was kind of disappointed with that. Okay, what time is it? Oh, 9:30, I nailed it. That's pretty good.
You're always on spot.
Yes, I actually started out another maxim, be on time, but that's just a joke with me that nobody. Those of you who know me would say he's so hypocritical, he just lost credibility. So I didn't even bother to add be on time for meetings. So does anybody have any questions or observations? I will tally that and try to give you all some insight. It's fun to look at this. I'm really enjoying it because it's all over the place as to what people agree to, and it's going to be
fun to summarize those and get those back to you all. Obviously, thank you as always. I look forward each year to coming out here, and one year we will beat Alabama, and it's going to be a home run week. And so, where's my buddy Karen, by the way?
She had to leave unexpectedly yesterday.
Oh, no. Well, would you all please tell her I said hello and that I missed her and that I hope to see you all again next year. Unless I don't, and I forgot my Walmart tie, I'm sorry. But I did wear I thought of negotiation.
Walmart had
I work with Knox County quite a bit, as you all heard, and due to good folks like Matt and our finance director wears the most loud plaid jackets that I helped negotiate for him, so I wore this in his honor. So tell Chris Caldwell, if you see him, that I wore my loud plaid for him. So thanks so much, guys. Hope you all good. Thank you. No, no.